Now, continuing our look back at the weekend and to events in Milton Keynes, we saw the first weekend of the development tour, and what a weekend it was for Luke Littler, the 16-year-old, making his debut, winning 2 of the 5 titles at the weekend. He's opened up a big lead already at the top of the development tour order of merit, and it brings us to our question of the week. Will Luke Littler be a PDC tour card holder? And we've put the date for the start of this week, April 3rd, 2024, next year.
Yes. What's the next question?
Right, let's get to our picks for night 10.
I mean, you can't read too much into one weekend. You never can, unless it is the last weekend of the season. But you can't discount it. It is more than a sixth of the season. It's basically 20% of the season. What did he do? He won 2 titles, made another final. The other 2 events, he was terrible. He lost to the quarterfinals and the quarterfinals, playing really, really well. And he's now nearly 4,000 pounds up on anyone else. Granted, it's very close for second and third. So even if he maintains that lead, let's see more. What is he up on fourth? But person in second, the person in third, they have tour cards. The person in fifth, the person in sixth, they have tour cards. So really, he's up pretty much 5,000 and change on anyone who doesn't have a tour card, other than one person, Christopher Tunders, who beat him in the quarterfinals. So that first match, really bad match for Luke Littler, averaged a mere 93 in losing 5 legs to 3. It was just an absolutely brilliant weekend for Luke Littler. And that's the thing, like the fact that for a tour card, he's in essence 5,000 pounds clear as things stand is ridiculous. That means he could skip a weekend and almost certainly still be a tournament or 2 tournaments ahead of anyone else. He could skip 2 weekends and probably still be fine as long as he plays average at the other couple weekends that he does go to. It's going to take a lot to deny him. And if you just look at the statistics, over the course of the weekend, the 5 events, he was more than 2 points clear of Vessel Nyman, who is second in averages. He's more than 3 points clear of anyone else. And averages aren't everything, but your average tells the story. And if you're that much better, if you're 3 points clear of pretty much everyone, 2.5 clear of second place, over 3 points clear of everyone else, that means you are in essence getting 1 more dart at double on average every leg than everyone else is, which means even if you miss, you on average can spare a dart. And that's really a scary level to be ahead of someone, to be ahead of the entire field. And that's, if you look at some of the best comparisons, if you look in the women's series, what we've seen from Bo Greaves, she's, 5 points clear of everyone else. And that is nearly unbeatable over the course of a season. Yes, you can get opportunities, but you have to be on your best. And it's because not just that, but the consistency that she plays at and the fact that when she needs to, she lifts her game. Well, what did Luke Littler do when he needed to? He lifted his game. Even the matches he lost, he was still playing really well. 93, 6.5 points better than the guy who ended up going on to win the title. 93.5 against Dylan Slevin, who we've talked about. He's done well on the Pro Tour this year on his first year as a tour card holder. And then just a tad under 93, but Wessel Nyman played really well in that match, averaged just a tick under 100. And, credit for Wessel Nyman. He's the guy who's second in averages. He's 6th so far in the order of merit, even though he hasn't made a final. So it shows that, he is playing really well. And he, it's surprising that he didn't get through to a final. It's surprising that he didn't win a title because he also had a very good weekend. That's why he was able to get to 6th without even making a final. But Luke Littler was still that much above him and that much above everyone else. Over the course of the weekend, there was only 2 matches under 85. One of those was a 73. He won that match 4-0. I don't know what else to say. The answer is clearly yes. His lead, it's not insurmountable, but it's pretty close to, especially when you consider most of the people chasing him have tour cards to begin with. I would be very surprised if he doesn't have a tour card. I would be very surprised if he doesn't make the World Championships. Yes, there may be a regression. Yes, he might As the pressure gets to him, he might lose some matches later in the year. But he has such a lead, and all it's going to take is a couple more good runs, not even good weekends, but good runs, and that'll put him over the line. He will be a tour card holder next year, assuming he wants it. It would be well deserved if and when he becomes one.
Yeah, I think we should have maybe made this question a bit more challenging and said, is he going to finish top of the development tour? Because in terms of the tour card race, as you outlined there, he's got such a big lead after one weekend. And looking at our poll for the question of the week, a lot of our listeners agreeing. 86% saying, yes, Luke Littler will have a tour card this time next year. 14% going with no. And a few of our listeners getting in touch as well. Rachel Gallagher saying, I hope so, as it would be quite funny to see him play on the tour without ever going to Q School. Of course, he only turned 16 after Q School this year, so wasn't able to play in it this year. Callum Wilkinson, who played on the development tour at the weekend, he had a close eye of him. He said after watching him this weekend, yes, he is going to have his tour card. And give a mention to another statistician on Twitter, Colin Harris at FEBS Data. He does a lot of great work. Do go and give him a follow. One of his tweets from the weekend about the development tour, and you can see just from that how much of an impact Luke Littler has already made after just one weekend. His match winning percentage, 91.67, puts him top. And okay, it is a smaller sample size than a lot of other players, being only 5 events, but you also look at the match averages, looking across every match that he's played in across all the development tours, and this only goes back to 2019 because of Dark Connect. But top of that list, you've got Josh Rock, 94.56, Luke Littler straight in at number 2, 92.74, and he's won virtually everything there is to win at a youth level: the JDC Super 16, their World Championship, the World Masters Youth Europe Cup boys, and he's in the semi-finals of the WDF World Youth Championships coming up later this year. But in terms of the development tour, $7,000 banked. And you look at last year as well, I think this was quite interesting to point out as well. You look at the final development tour order of merit, $7,000 would have put him in 7th place already, and that's just from one weekend. And you think you've got 4 more weekends to come. He's in such a good position to not just get that tour card, but also finish in the top 2 and get to Ali Pali as well, which again would be an incredible story. Probably the youngest player, one of the youngest players to play in the PDC World Championship. So I think looking at it another way, in terms of finishing top, Josh Rock, I think, is going to be one of his biggest challenges on paper. But you look at his schedule for the year, he missed the weekend because he was playing in the Euro Tour. He's going to be missing the next weekend of events, and I think he can play the 3rd and the 5th weekends. The 4th one does have a little bit of an overlap with the World Match Play, so I'm not quite sure if he'll be up for doing the travelling in between those to play in it. So I think now the target's got to be to finish top, and I'm not sure if that gets him in the Grand Slam this year like it did last year. But again, what story would that be? So I think we'll see later on in the year if the pressure's going to come. But I think at this moment in time, given the lead that he's got, if anything, going into the next weekend, he can play with a lot of freedom, because that lead that he's got is going to take some doing to eat away at from the rest of the field.